Hey guys, Akiba for Crypto Slate again for the next SlateCast. We're on tour at the moment. Oh, I dropped there for a second. Let me start again. Hey guys, Akiba here for Crypto Slate, back for another episode of the SlateCast. I'm on location today. I'm at NFT London, but that's not important. What's important is we've got a very special guest for you. From the world of SushiSwap, the new head chef, Jared Gray. I'm going to bring him in now and let's get to it. Jared, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to
So,
chat.
sorry for cutting you off. I was going to say, so do you have a culinary background?
I do not. I joke with people that know my fiance that I made the same 3 dishes the first few dates that I had any pride in, and that's pretty much my expertise. It's like,
And that, and now you're a head chef. Like, they don't
yeah,
let anyone do.
I'm here to take on
So,
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't make great sushi anyway. So, I remember seeing him do a video where he was trying to learn how to make sushi, and he got his ass handed to him.
Oh wow.
How's it going? It's kind of been about 5-6 weeks, I think, since you were kind of announced as a new head chef. How's settling in into the world of DAOs and the such?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been the team's been really great and inviting and really helpful with helping get me up to speed on all the things that we need to do to get sushi, back on top of the world of DeFi.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think tomorrow, well, next Monday will be my 6th week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have
But
you? Sorry, have you ever applied for a job through a DAO process before? Is it something you'd experienced before?
no, and I think that this was kind of the first of its kind as
Mm-hmm.
far as, like a presidential or political kind of election
Mm-hmm.
process that DAO leveraged to find a high profile pseudo executive candidate. So I think it was really exciting. It was really novel to debate other potential um, head chefs in the format that the community chose. And I think mostly the feedback was really great. I think this is something that other DAOs could learn from and implement if that's what they choose.
Yeah, I found it really fascinating because you all had I watched back some of the videos where you had the open Discord with like hundreds of people in there and you were all giving your like presentations and things. It was just surreal. You say for a high profile position, this like the transparency of it. I've got to say, honestly, I think it's actually fantastic. But that's why I was interested to sort of hear from your perspective whether you feel that I guess the easier question is how does it compare to kind of traditional hiring processes and jobs that you've got elsewhere?
Yeah, I would say it's totally different. Normally, um, it's interesting. You're under a different type of microscope with each different type of process, right? So, like, if you're interviewing at an executive or a V or C level for like a traditional company, you come in usually the recruiter or the headhunter, and then you go through a couple of interviews and you meet the board and the executives and stuff like that. This was just um, really, I would say this was a little bit more nerve wracking, which was good because it kind of culled the
Hmm.
herd of candidates that were really committed to the process. And I think that Sushi had a really strong selection from which to choose who they wanted to see lead. And I think any one of the other candidates would have done as good of a job as I hope to do, while I'm here. I don't think there were any that were weaker than another, but it was like who might have the best skill set for this particular job.
Yeah,
So interesting
I,
process.
yeah, I found that really fascinating, given that there seems to be a kind of a lack of the kind of cult of personality involved with it. the candidates were, as you say, there for the merits of the skill set, where I'm sure most people outside of Web3 would assume that if you did such a public vote, you'd end up with, I don't know, just some celebrity that's got no idea what they're talking about, just winning because they've got more interest. But it seems that the way that the kind of the tokens are sort of spread out and shared in the community, you actually had a fantastic pool. Like you said, the other candidates were great as well.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that like anyone that doesn't have, like, you can't be in this position for the financial interests only, right? This is a very significant undertaking. And I think anyone that was involved in the process knew that and knew what was on the other side should they win. Sushi's a really important project in terms of like the history of DeFi, of the DAO governance model. And so it needed the right group of people for the community to choose from. And I think it had that. It could have been like 10 people or 15 people. Sure, there could have been more people in the mix, but I think it had a good lineup to choose from.
For certain, you mentioned about the kind of the legacy of sushi and bringing it back to where it needs to be. I mean, I remember, what was it? It was like February 21 when there was a lot of excitement about sushi, about there being really innovative products and projects, sorry, products within the offering. What can we look forward to? I know you talked a lot about tokenization of like physical assets and the stuff in your kind of lead up and your campaign, so to speak. What can we expect going forward in terms of new innovations, things to get people excited about?
Yeah, I mean, the sushi product suite's pretty expansive, and I would look to expand it even further. And one of the areas where I think that there's a good amount of opportunity are the asset-backed tokens and being able to bring real world assets and value, transferred to on-chain, and then using that in all of the varying ways that Sushi has products built to serve that type of liquidity in those assets. So I think that I'm in the process with the engineering team of putting together the 2023 and beyond product roadmap. We're pretty close to completion. I think we're maybe at about 80%. We've got another meeting tomorrow, and their engineering team is super fantastic, really passionate, talented guys and girls. And I think people are going to be excited about what we're going to bring to Sushi, and then some of the structure of how we're going to bring it. I think people are going to find exciting as well, talking about like the Sushi Labs establishment and moving forward and being able to launch projects that may typically have not been under the purview of Sushi's structure previously. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about coming for release over the next few weeks. And then 2023 should be really exciting.
So would it be safe to assume that there will be some asset-backed sort of tokens or projects within that offering?
So part of the plan that we're putting together is to build infrastructure and the legal pathways to support those types of offerings. And they would come later, but definitely it will be on the roadmap. You just have to build the infrastructure to support those, and it has to be done in a way that is mindful of the jurisdictional challenges that exist in the US and some of these other places. So we want to make sure that they have the widest distribution when they're launched, and that the products aren't encumbered by any kind of regulatory hurdles. So a lot of planning to make sure that that's done correctly.
Mm-hmm. Understood. In terms of like regulatory hurdles and just general obstacles to navigate, I guess is the way to put it, in terms of DeFi at the moment. There was some news today around Coinbase's USDC interest rates being at kind of like 1.8% or something, which is like below the Fed's interest rate now. Do you think DeFi can retain interest rates above the fiat world given the current climate?
I guess this is an interesting question because I think that traditionally DeFi isn't supposed to do more or above and beyond than what traditional finance provides. It's supposed to offer access to those types of products and new and innovative products, regardless of the yield, in a manner that allows people to retain custody and autonomy and privacy, right? So I think we got a little bit drunk on the easy liquidity of the COVID era, quantitative easing type of approach from the Fed. I'm less concerned about us long term as an industry being able to beat traditional finance with maybe artificially inflated DeFi interest rates, and more about just replacing traditional finance infrastructure, and then over time migrating those products and solutions into the type of framework that DeFi gives access. It gives access to everyone across the globe. So that's more of how I look at it. It would be nice if we could get back to a point where we're outperforming traditional finance, but I wouldn't want to see that at the expense of further global macro like contention in regards to like inflation and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's a very interesting time. I mean, I'm in the UK, and the Bank of England just announced that they're expecting the longest recession that we've ever experienced. And yeah, from living in a country that used to be the financial center of the world, that's gone. The US is now a financial center of the world. Do you think that the current climate could be that catalyst for DeFi to really take hold, or do you think that a recession? I mean, Bitcoin's never been through a recession, and obviously everything leads Bitcoin. How are you foreseeing the macro picture impacting DeFi over the next, let's say, 18 months?
It'll be challenging for sure. Like saying anything otherwise would be maybe irresponsible, right? Given the position that I'm in at Sushi. I think I am optimistic simply because things typically always turn back around, right? The history of money, as far back as human civilization goes, it goes through periods of reconstruction and renaissance and doom and gloom. And I think, DeFi is going to have a challenge. Crypto is going to have a challenge, and it'll be a great litmus test for, the strength of what we're building, how it interacts with and navigates that environment. I'm not an economist, so I don't know above and beyond really what an outlook would look like from, otherwise from what I can read, right? And what other more intelligent people who have dedicated their careers to that. But I would say that, the obvious challenges are going to be making sure that you're staying innovative and that you can attract the capital that remains to make investments if you need runway, to build strong teams, to continue to ship, because the teams that survive this, right, even if it goes on 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, the teams that come out on the other side of this are going to be the ones that really outperform the market. That's what I believe. I could be totally wrong, but I think that you prove your mettle in the down times and you typically reap the rewards of the good times.
Yeah, I mean, historically, investors, I've always experienced that. We're in this strange position at the moment where, say, US unemployment is at an all-time low, and that seemed as bad for the markets. The UK is now projecting the highest unemployment in years, and that's also bad for the market. It's like it seems like it's a lose-lose situation at the moment, and I think a lot of people are looking to DeFi as maybe an alternative, but at the moment anyway, Bitcoin's still tracking the Fed's funds rate, etc. When the it's definitely not a inflation hedge in the short term, as some people thought it might be. In terms of sushi, though, let's move back on sort of some of the things that I find really interesting in terms of the DAO culture and stuff. What does your day to day look like as sort of a head chef at sushi? Like, especially for people watching that may be kind of new to DAOs and understanding what might happen. So you've been in a position where you've been elected democratically by the token holders of the project that make up the DAO, and now you're leading this decentralized community. Yeah, what does your day to day look like?
I mean, it's the last 6 weeks have been pretty much anything and everything you can imagine. From, I mean, you wake up, you roll over, you look at your phone, there's 400 messages. You spend the first couple hours just catching up on what you missed, while you were sleeping. And then, it really comes down to getting organized and prioritizing the initiatives that you believe are going to help push the protocol forward. There's the typical organizational things and operational things that CEOs or founders or whatever, right, have to do day in and day out. So that's not really different. I think I typically carve out some time, even if it's just an hour. Sometimes I like to try and get like a couple hours in to just think about the high level things and really let my brain be creative and think about, what do optimal tokenomics look like, and then working with the resources we have that are helping us there, and spending that time being, thinking forward and not just mired in the operational day-to-day kind of stuff. But I would say that sushi, a good portion of this last month has been like getting good operational workflows in place, getting the team to task on things that I believe are important. And I mean, everybody's just been really great. Everyone is a super grinder. But yeah, day to day is as hectic as you can imagine. And, try and squeeze as many of these things in so that people can get a glimpse into what sushi hopes to do, and try and bring back that positive sentiment towards the protocol that maybe had languished a little bit over the last year.
I think part of that sentiment kind of reminds me a little bit of Aave, in the very innovative kind of at launch and had a massive kind of upswing, and then not very much publicity in terms of a lot of focus in DeFi went to like projects that were failing or had been hacked, or like a lot of negative attention into certain areas. Whereas platforms like, say, like Aave and SushiSwap, you just kind of got on with it for the most part. Why do you think that sushi is in the position that it's in now, where is it like really proper planning? Is it certain things in the way that it's being coded and developed? What's made it kind of, to a degree, almost boring by being so reliable?
That's interesting. I think you have some core team members that are very passionate about the success and longevity of the protocol. I also think that sushi has had one of the most resilient communities because they believe in kind of the genesis, the reason behind the genesis of sushi. And so I think that kind of resiliency is translated well into sushi, just, through all of the battles it's had, and some of the dramas, and, just typical kind of trials and tribulations of life in crypto. And sushi's had its fair share, but I think because of those things, it has remained kind of steadfast as a protocol in the space. Having said that, there are challenges that we are addressing to make it get to the next level, right? To bring back that kind of excitement that may have been lost in, a little bit, or a good portion of it lost because of the dramatic events that have taken place over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
But that's the thing. Like when I was in Croatia at an event called Lockdown when the Terra Luna thing all blew up, and I was literally writing articles from the event at different talks and stuff because there was always something, another platform had been affected. Like sushi never came up in those conversations as being, and maybe I just missed it, but as being like dramatically affected by the whole situation. And that's why I kind of when I said like boring by being reliable. I meant that actually in a compliment, just the way that I see Aave is quite boring a lot of the time. What things do you think will excite people again? Because I think you're completely right. I think one of the things that brought people into sushi, brought me into sushi back in 2021 and late 2020, was that the innovation. There was just a sense of fun around it and excitement. What needs to be done to get to there?
Well, I think it's just a maturation of what it means for this protocol to exist, right? Like every brand throughout the world has a mission statement. I don't think that's changed for sushi. The wrapping might change, and colors and UIs and tweets and tone and stuff like that might adapt and change as the industry evolves. And I think that's just a natural like evolution of the brand having longevity, right? Like I think going forward, sushi, what you can expect to see is a little bit more I don't want to say mature or serious tone, but more focused on its users, providing really sound and I guess boring solutions, staying at the center of our mission and giving people greater access to these things and more easy to use and friendly type interfaces and things like that. So as we mature, the maturity is just being aware more of our users and serving them better. But I mean, we can still have fun doing that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I mean, Jared, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us. It sounds like you've got a great team there. You've obviously got a great community. I've been a fan of the project for a long time now, and I can't wait to see sushi back at the top. I've not sold any of my bags of sushi. I've held it all this time, and plan to continue. So,
Awesome.
anyone watching that hasn't heard much about sushi at the moment, given the sort of the changes in new leadership, what do you think is the best way to get started finding out about the project and kind of joining the community?
Yeah, that's a really great question. We just launched a sushi academy, and yeah, so you can go to the website and get started learning about crypto, DeFi, and then specifically about the products that sushi offers to gain access to those types of products and services that the market offers. And I think, let me just check while we're on here, that that the landing page is, no, I need to get the updated one. So I'm sorry, I was a little bit unprepared for that question, but it is Sushi Academy. I'm just not sure the URL. But yeah, I'm excited about that because I think one of the greatest barriers to entry within crypto in anything in life is just education. And so I'm excited to get feedback from people on the Sushi Academy.
Sounds fantastic. Anyone that wants that link, it will be in the full article. So if you're watching this on YouTube or on other social media channels, hop over to the Crypto Sleep website, find the article for this video, and it'll be listed in there if it's not in the description below. Jared, thank you very much again. I say wish you all the best. And for this episode of the SlateCast, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Cheers.